Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we are talking about the spell Life Transferrence. Okay,
That was a
I
weird
feel
one.
better. Yeah.
uh,
we-
yeah, life. This is the third level Xanathar's Guide to Everything spell for clerics and wizards. It takes an action to cast, has a range of 30 feet. That's kind of important. Verbal somatic components. You sacrifice some of your life to mend another creature's injuries, like Bob just showcased. You take 48 necrotic damage. They get twice that back in HP. Also, the 48 you take, you can't mitigate it. So resistance, nope. Immunity, absolutely not. And then if you upcast it, it gets bonus d8s. Don't upcast it. Where do you land on life transference?
I like it in theory,
I
and
also
I,
like it.
I I like the thought of upcasting it as well. But we'll get into that, I
Oh,
suppose.
well, okay,
Oh,
that's
uh-oh.
too much for me. I can't fathom upcasting this. Um, this is something that we're like. I looked at it and I was like, this is just always bad, right? This fits. This feels similar to me as Warding Bond. It's a spell that gives you a way to use resources in a different kind of way. We talked about Warding Bond, and I kind of liked it for this reason. I think Life Transference I think a little bit less because I think the floor is quite a bit higher. Warding Bond gives you a way to sort of share all of your hit points with somebody else. This is very much just like it's just these 48, just this one time. At the same time, it does give you a better rate of return. So it kind of like
Yeah.
I get to spend 48 of my hit points, and they're basically counting as 88 hit points for somebody else. And 88 is a lot, especially for a third level spell slot. 88 is kind of like soaking an extra fireball and a half, right? And that's fine. That's pretty solid. Is it worth an action? On clerics, probably not. On wizards, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I think that's going to be situationally dependent.
Hmm.
Uh, One thing I will say though, I I like that the text is the way it is, but I think I might like it better if you rolled both of them. Like you roll the
I
4d8,
and
I
then
want to
roll the
roll the
8d8.
8d8.
Yeah.
That's I'm more of a gambler that way.
Plus, everyone loves rolling dice. Like, if you
Oh
sat
yeah,
down to play Dungeons and Dragons, you want to take a fistful of fireball dice and just throw them out on the table, right? If you're playing a fighter, you get your 4 attack rolls, roll them up with your dice all in hand with magic ones. Yeah, we're here to roll some dice.
but I like the
Um,
idea that it would be possible to sacrifice so much of your life, and then the person on the receiving end gets less than that.
you roll like 8877. You just take a solid
Yeah,
30 to the dome, and then your the buddy gets back. Oh, I got 15 back from that.
yeah.
Thanks.
Or on the flip side, you could roll a bunch of ones and twos, and
Mhm.
then Yahtzee the
They get
guy. You're yeah,
60 some or whatever. Yeah.
but
Maximum
that's
is
not what it is.
64.
Yeah,
No. I mean, you can still heal somebody for 64. You're just always
yeah.
taking 32 in that instance. So this will actually have more instances of maximum and minimum on the doubled, which is neat than an 88 would. At the same time, like this takes an action to cast. This is only really healing. This is something you really don't want to do outside of combat. That's not necessarily true. You can do this outside of combat in a pinch. Do you like what character do you build that puts life transference on their character sheet? Is my question. Like, what character picks this up?
I don't know who picks it up, but I mean, I think either clerics or wizards could pick it up. I don't know. I guess clerics over wizards because they have more hit points to spare. This feels like, 48. This is a third level spell. If you're, so what level are you, and how
5.
many hit points do you have? Level 5.
Around 48 if you're a wizard.
Right. Yeah. It feels dangerous to cast.
Yeah, this can kill you. This is something I think that if you're taking it in the upper tiers. And if you're taking it in the upper tiers, you're taking a third level spell on the upper tiers instead of a new, like, higher level spell. I don't love where that is already. Granted, if you're a wizard, you're getting like a billion of them. And if you're a cleric, you can just prepare this alongside instead of lower level slots you're not using anymore. So that's kind of moot. Um, I I think I firmly land in that if you want to cast this, you need to know your HP is comfortably safe otherwise, and I don't know how much of a given that is. There will be some tables where, like, you will be a wizard and not take damage for 5 consecutive fights, because the DM loves running front-to-back encounters where you plow into some big, chunky monsters with multi-attacks that are, big and scary and blobby and bite things and slap things and sludge on things, and the wizard is literally so far away, firing off spells from, comfortably long ranges away, that that's never an issue for them. In the case of that, where your hit points are a resource that could be spent elsewhere, this is a way to spend them. It's spending them at the expense of another resource, though. It's spending them at the expense of the spell slot, so you're doing less proactive things with your spell slots in order to get access to your hit points to somebody else, basically. And that's probably
your turn.
Yeah, and your turn. Again, this is probably something you want to be doing right prior to a fight, saying, I'm still really healthy, our paladin's at 10. I'll sacrifice 48 HP to give them 86 or 88 back and be pretty happy with that exchange, especially if you anticipate them running in to go fight something that's melee range. Like if you're going in to fight a giant or whatever that isn't going to be throwing boulders at you, specifically the wizard, but is going to be smashing its greatsword 3 times into the paladin, having 88 more HP is going to keep them up an extra round or two that might be valuable. I just find all of that to be like not necessarily that consistent. Healing is in no short supply in this game. Short rest exists. There's lots of ways to get hit points back. If you're a cleric, I don't think there's ever a reason to take this. I don't think as a cleric you would ever want this. I think you'd only consider this on wizards because it both is a way to use hit points that could, in some tables, won't be getting spent that much. Other tables challenge their wizards' HP all the time. It's a way to challenge their concentration. It's a way to like make positioning matter and care about party like stuff. Like in more tactical games, your wizards don't have this HP to spare ever. And then in this case, it's just that spell's unusable. So it really just lands at you're a wizard that isn't using their HP. And you need more access to healing. That's where I'm like, fine. Around 9th, 10th level, Life Transferrence is acceptable. Outside of that exact example, I can't see realistically there being characters that would play this.
See, I kind of disagree with this one because the wizard, typically has more, powerful spell. Because I'm thinking about using this in the heat of combat, rather than getting ready for a combat. And it would have to be in a situation where, like you said, the barbarian's hacking away at this guy, but he just got hit a little worse than you were expecting. You'd really like him to continue hacking away at this guy. And so you want to give him a little boost. His hacking is going to be more effective than what you would normally do. And I don't
When
see
is that ever true with a 3rd level spell slot?
That's what I'm saying. For a wizard in particular, the wizard got some powerful stuff going on. Clerics also good stuff, but maybe not quite as. But the thing is, clerics also have other healing spells if that's what it comes down to. Now,
if I'm a cleric, I'm just healing wording the barbarian.
What's that?
If I'm a cleric, I'm just going to healing word the barbarian.
Yeah, but
for a bonus action. That seems way more efficient and cheaper.
Yeah.
And keeps them up hitting things.
That's
like
true.
They goes down, they come back up, they continue to hit things, they go down, they come back up, they continue to hit things. You just rinse and repeat that cycle for way cheaper while you get to still hit things with your melee attack. You still have your special weapon going around doing things like that, right? And you're not, very crucially, in a fight where your barbarian is going down as a character that's more mid to front line, spending your own hit points to do that, right?
Yeah, because I feel like as soon as you cast the spell, you become the target.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, why kill that? We can just kill that.
Nobody attacked that guy, but he looks like hell now. Finish him off.
48's a lot.
Yeah.
Clerics can take it a little bit more so, but again, clerics also want to be closer to the front of things. Clerics also want to be engaged using martial weapons, especially if they're doing, if they're combat healing with bonus actions, they want a good reason to use their actions on things like melee weapon attack. Backline clerics, maybe you would justify life transference here or there. I don't know. I think you don't care about it as much the moment you have access to getting people off of 0 with healing word, because I don't think preventing the fall is all that much more worth it, especially whenever how much higher of a cost it is.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There would have to be a specific situation where you need to keep them up rather than bring them back.
Love them go down at all. I mean, initiative order might have something to do with that, right?
Yeah.
Like if they go immediately before you, this might be a way to be like, I need you back up, I need you to stay up. Maybe that gives you an extra 2 rounds of it or whatever. If you need them to come up and stay up, that means you're probably about to die. And if you're about to die, losing 48 hit points does not seem like where you want to be. Mass healing word seems way better in that instance.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think like other just typical healing spells, like at when you're at 5th level, or cast or a third level equivalence. I mean, what does that do compared to the 8d8 you'd be giving this guy?
And again, at the cost of 48 of your own. So
Right.
this is definitely the highest healing per level you can get, right? This is
Okay.
like you're healing a large bulk amount. I think that's the reason why it's the most interesting sort of to think about. This is, I have to like reconsider healing magic in the scope of, well, it is a lot now. For the spell level, this is doing mitigating 3 or 4 attacks. That is mitigating turns sometimes. Is that better than getting, the mass healing word giving you 3 extra actions by upping 3 of your downed allies at once with that huge potential? Probably not. Is this worth it more than some hard crowd control effect, like a whole person or something? I don't think it is. I think you'd rather be critting a thing to death and killing it faster than I would think you would rather be like, giving something more HP. Third level spell slots tend to have really high impact on creatures. Fear is an effect that you can get in both these classes that is way better at preventing this damage from occurring in the first place and setting up future attacks against the creatures and disarming them. Like, I would much rather do that than this most of the time. If something is actively taking a beating, you want to deal with the thing killing it. You don't want to give them the HP, which is why I'm like, okay, I guess this is something you do prior to a combat, so you're not wasting actions in a combat, and you have the extra resources to let kind of play with the air. That's why, again, my window is like very short in the upper tiers on exactly backline wizards. And even then, I'm like, but you're still a wizard with third level spell slots that want to be throwing out fireballs, that want to be throwing out better effects than this. I just don't see it having a home anywhere, though it is a relatively potent, neat effect. Just because clerics have better access to better healing magic that's more flexible, wizards have different things they want to be spending their actions on. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
I
neat.
agree with all that, and we come around to this every time we talk about a healing spell. You're not as harsh on this one, I've noticed.
8d8's a lot.
Yeah.
Like a third, I can't deny that. Like, if you're talking about a bulk healing all at once, like I said, this is going to eat a lot more attacks than a d4 ever will, right? Like, there will be real times where this will get you 2 full extra rounds of the boss slamming into something, right? Like, if a creature with 48 damage dice now needs to spend 2 whole attacks slaying into something to undo the life transference, that is sometimes multiple rounds. That is sometimes more than, like, if you're dealing with 3 things with d8 attack rolls, that's full ass, like 3, 4, 5 turns of those things wailing on your buddy for a single action. That's not nothing. It costs you some hit points, and they're more likely to come up and kill you now. But if you have a paladin in good positioning, I can see that being a window where you would want to kind of do that. I then have to ask, well, why aren't we just killing them instead? And that is normally the answer that defeats healing magic, and I think that's what makes me not like this in its current state.
All right, now, next thing, the range. This is not something. What's that?
30 feet is kind of small.
Yeah, this is not something you can like hang way back and feel safe in your lowered hit points, because I mean you're still.
You're still
30,
a move away from whatever's killing your buddies, right?
A move away. Also, you are also in area of effect range of the guy that you're targeting.
A lot of times, yeah.
Yeah.
It's relatively risky. I think if you want this effect, Warding Bond's probably going to give you the feel of it, but in a better way. It gives you, that's the spell that, again, you link your hit point to somebody else, and then you take half the damage, they take half the damage. I think it's a better way to leverage hit points. It also gives them an AC bomb, so it's more protective out the gate. It's usable on backline targets occasionally. I think it's more consistent at doing that job, and there'll be characters that, like, this specifically is the protector fantasy I want. I think with Life Transferrence, if you're, like, if you're that mid-tier wizard, maybe. If you really need healing magic somewhere else, maybe. If you are okay with being so close to enemies and dropping 48 HP on your own, maybe. And I think I'd have to see it played a lot to get a better opinion of it, because it seems bad right now.
You're thinking protector fantasy. I'm thinking self-sacrifice fantasy. I'm thinking ultimate sacrifice. I, the cleric, am down to 6 hit points, but
full martyrdom moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to save the orphanage or whatever. We got to kill this giant 2-headed beast. So yeah, I nobly sacrifice myself, roll the dice, I die. And now do they still get all the hit points, or do they just get the 2 times what I lost
I was about to
0?
Ask. I would guess. So it says regains number of hit points equal to twice the necrotic damage you take. I don't think you take damage that reduces you below 0. I think it stops when you hit 0.
Then that's the lamest self-sacrifice.
You
ever.
pay 6, they get 12. That's a lot less than 8d8.
Yeah.
Don't really want to be there. That's like 3d8. Yeah. I think that martyr character is probably can do some fun things with life transference. I definitely see this more as like a necromancy thing. Like you're the lich overlord that's like loading out your life to somebody else to make better use of it because you're not getting hit a whole bunch. That's where I like put it in the wizard school as.
Oh, certainly. That's how it should be used. I'm thinking one particular fantasy that just popped into my head.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
A dramatic moment in the game.
Indeed. Bob, give me your rating for this. I want you to go first. What do you think about it?
I'm gonna go solid middle ground. I think it's a 3. Which I can't, and I'm giving it that because I can't decide whether that's too generous or not generous enough.
Right?
I'm pulled in 2 different directions with this one.
I actually am going to agree with you, just because undoubtedly 88 is a lot. And there's going to be times where it is really helpful and it's going to get you free actions that you otherwise didn't have. And it's just, that's not going to be most tables, but the tables where this is going to be pretty good, I can imagine it being like a linchpin in making things happen. At the same time, I think there's going to be a lot of tables. If you're 5th level, nope, this isn't a spell. This isn't a spell you take at 5th level if you're a wizard ever. It just kills you, and you don't want to cast spells that kill you. So like this is a spell like proceed with caution. You have to kind of know what you're doing before you take it. If you are like very casually here listening to this being like, what's this spell do? It sounds nifty. Probably shouldn't be putting on your character sheet. It's probably net harming you than it is helping the encounter. But if you're like really dedicated to builds and like googling around trying to find how to do a cool sacrifice wizard thing or a cleric protector thing, or like Bob's ultimate martyr fantasy, I give my life for the orphanage, and then you explode your hit points to somebody else. You could probably do some neat things with this. It's a lot of HP. Again, this is like really high HP for its level. So there's got to be something neat that I'm missing. Again, I haven't seen played a lot, so.
You say table to table, and I will agree with that, but I also think instance to instance. I think this is one. I think this is a spell when it works. It's something the group is going to talk about for years to come.
I don't know about that. It still does 88 healing.
Yeah, I don't know. But at this level and the difference it makes in the encounter.
So you're saying someone does make the mistake of picking this up at 5th level, and they do go to 2 hit points to get the paladin back to max, and the paladin just roasts things for the rest of the encounter. That does sound pretty cool. Alternatively, it kills you.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's true. Because it could be a gamble. You could come really close to dying.
Not just really, your hit points are D6s. You have less hit points than this deals you damage.
Well, commenters, I want your comments. I want your thoughts on the spell and our opinions on it, but I also want your stories.
Yeah.
Tell us.
I'm probably being too generous. This is probably worse than I'm saying. I'm just trying to cover myself because I don't have a great experience with it.
All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You gave it 3 as well. Got anything else?
No.
All right. Well, that was Life Transferrence. I'm excited about it.
Me too. This is a spell that I wanted to make more of. Make more spells that make me go, huh, neat. I don't know if it's good, but it's neat.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Sam, and thank you, listeners and watchers. We will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.